Chapter 1. New World. Ben peeled his face off his desk. Did I fall asleep studying again? But as he blinked away the spinning blurriness, he realized right away something was very, very wrong. For one, the surface under him wasn't his smooth wooden desk, but rather scorched, blackened dirt. He drew a confused breath and immediately gagged, choking on the harsh, suffocating stench of ash and burnt wood, the distant crackle of dying embers the only sound around him. Coughing violently, he rolled onto his back and stared at a glaringly unfamiliar sun through his blurry vision. What the hell, is this a prank? Maybe, but the heat coming from the ground made that seem unlikely. He squinted through the thick haze and saw he was lying in the middle of a village that had been completely destroyed. Dozens of wooden houses had burned down to their foundations, reduced to nothing but smoldering black husks still radiating heat up through the ash-covered ground. The fire had to have been huge, because nothing appeared to have survived. Other than him, either he was having a vivid stress-induced hallucination, or something else entirely was happening. Wait, he tried to push himself up but quickly found out that his limbs felt completely limp. And before he had any time to panic at the revelation, a violent migraine hit him like a sledgehammer. Gasping for air, he felt strange foreign memories force their way into his mind. What, where, how? He curled into a ball, trying to bear the pain as years of someone else's life were shoved into his mind. It was completely overwhelming. Things he previously had no clue about were suddenly just there. Names, faces, even a strong craving for sweet things appeared out of nowhere. Apparently, the body's former owner loved stealing honey from the local beekeeper. Even with warm blood running down his face, all he could see were growing dark spots moving across his vision. He couldn't handle all the new information and passed out. Something tugged at his mind, dragging him back to reality. And the first thing he noticed was the sound of muffled voices. H.Y. Muttering through the darkness, a deep and gruff voice echoed in his head. T.H. Boy. A.I.V. Key. Your hands, your hills. Could be, Walker, it's just a kid, Cap. Feeling like he'd been hit hard, he tried to move. Moving one dirty finger took almost all his strength. Hey, he moved. Boy, wake up. He forced his heavy eyelids open and groaned, feeling sick and nauseous. Blinking through the bloody crust in his eyes, he tried to make sense of the blurry shapes above him. Am I in a hospital? Did someone find me? But his body felt like it was stuck in thick mud. As his vision slowly cleared, he saw a grey sky instead of a clean white hospital ceiling. Shifting his throbbing head, he finally spotted the people standing over him. And immediately, an incredibly jarring thought popped into his head. Why the hell are they cosplaying? Seriously, what was going on? But that train of thought completely derailed as his mind supplied a reason from the 14 years of memories locked into his brain with absolute clarity. Just like that, the memories didn't feel foreign anymore. They were just his. To his surprise, there was no hyperventilating panic or mental breakdown. The memories were already his. All that was left was a dull, lingering shock. He was part Benjamin now. Following that realization, a wave of grief washed over him. It gripped his chest, but he didn't have time to dwell on it. A gruff voice snapped him back to reality. Can you understand me? Quote. Shaking off the daze, he took a better look at the people surrounding him. Oh, right, the not cosplayers. These people wore real, heavy armor and carried actual swords, spears, and bows. Staring down at him was a ferocious-looking man with a scarred face who basically screamed danger. But being utterly emotionally exhausted, Ben really didn't have any fucks left to give. So he just gave a weak nod. I see. Do you remember what happened? How did your village burn down? Heck, how are you even alive? Quote, what kind of question is that? Is that something you ask a teenager in the middle of a burned village? Honestly, their bedside manner was absolute garbage. Still, taking a slow breath, Ben actually tried to sort through his newly acquired memories. His name here was Benjamin. It was strange and quite funny that the teen shared his name, though he liked to call himself Ben. Still, how did it burn down? He remembered Benjamin's last moments, choking on smoke in his room, passing out, and being completely sure that he was going to die. Actually, now that Ben was controlling the body, the original Benjamin must have died. But that raised a very obvious question. How did this body survive sitting in the middle of a literal inferno? And how am I outside now? Who or what moved me? And is everyone else seriously dead? No, kid. Anyone tell you that you have a really creepy stare? Blinking slowly, Ben processed the random remark. Well, it wasn't the first time he'd heard something along those lines. Even in his past life, his friends joked that he looked like a serial killer when he zoned out. Regardless, he decided to ignore the remark entirely and answer the important questions. I don't know. What? I don't know how the village burned down. Or how the fire started. The man frowned and exchanged a meaningful look with the armed soldiers behind him. Right. Well, you're gonna have to come with us. Quote. Ben stared at the embroidered crest on their armor. He already knew the answer to his next question, but he asked anyway to keep up the act. He had to look like a clueless, shaken peasant boy. Who are you? Quote. We're Sulan soldiers, kid. Of course, they are. They were soldiers from the Kingdom of Sulan, one of the Central Plains kingdoms, usually sent to deal with threats. So what were they doing out here in the middle of nowhere? Either way, they wanted him to come with them. It was clear they suspected him. If he ran, they would just think he started the fire or was involved somehow. He probably looked like some kind of demon child, sitting there unharmed in the middle of the ruins. Going with them could be dangerous, but it was his only choice for now. And frankly, did he even have a choice? He didn't want to go, but that hardly mattered. Besides, he had no idea what to do with this new life anyway. So why not? Before Ben could actually voice his resignation, a particularly gruff-looking soldier stepped past the scarred leader and grabbed him. The soldier yanked Ben by the shoulder, spun him around, forced his hands behind his back, and snapped heavy metal cuffs onto his wrists. The cold iron pressed sharply into his skin. The soldier shoved him forward, not bothering to hide his disgust. Walk. Ben stumbled a few steps and fell, scraping his knees. He hissed in pain and looked back at the man in disbelief. Seriously, handcuffs, creepy fucking stare. You're sure this little guy isn't a skinwalker? Turning his glare to the scarred leader, the man kept complaining. Why are you even talking to him? The only kid alive in a burned village, and those eyes just don't look right. Quote. Spitting on the ashy dirt, the soldier sneered. Shit, man, it's suspicious as hell. The leader caught Ben's gaze and gave him a brief, apologetic look. But shrugging his shoulders, he didn't actually disagree. Instead, he looked firmly at his men. Split up. Half of you stay and keep looking for survivors. The rest are moving out with the kid and me. One of the soldiers staying behind sighed and kicked a burnt piece of wood. There are no survivors, Captain. Yeah, I thought so too, the gruff soldier said quickly, pointing at Ben. But then this kid appears out of nowhere. Alive, mind you, even if he survived by some miracle, it is too suspicious. You know why we're here, Captain, don't tell me you're gonna go soft. The man shoved Ben again and scowled. We need to get his status checked as soon as possible. Ben caught his balance, turned around, and stared blankly into the gruff soldier's eyes. I don't know how. Keeping his face perfectly expressionless, he made a silent promise to himself right then and there. But I am going to punch you in the face. Ben trudged through the blackened dirt toward the forest outside the village, giving him plenty of time to think. The more Ben tried to make sense of what was happening, the less any of it made sense. Since these guys weren't on horses, their camp had to be close enough to reach on foot. But then, why hadn't they reached the village in time to stop the fire? None of this made any damn sense. Maybe if he asked a few questions, he could finally figure out what was going on. He cleared his throat and decided to try an innocent question. So, how are they going to check my status? Quote, a status. Benjamin knew what that was. Everyone did. It was still hard to believe how much this world felt like a game. Everyone got a status window at 14, the day the system awakened for them. But not everyone could see it. You needed special equipment to view someone's status, and the villagers talked about other ways, though nobody really knew what those were. And now they were about to see his. The scarred captain stopped and turned around slowly. What did you just say? I asked. How they going to check my status? You must have hit your head harder than I thought. The gruff soldier from earlier snorted and shoved Ben's shoulder. Or maybe the kid is just pretending. Ben ignored the hostility and tried a different approach. Where are we actually going? Camp, one of the quieter soldiers muttered. Is that enough questions? The gruff soldier snapped, glaring at him. Well, I guess that's what happens when you ask too many questions. Since they clearly didn't trust him enough to answer, he decided to keep quiet and just listen. As they walked in a tight group, the soldiers eventually began muttering to each other. You think the Adventurers Guild will get involved with this mess, Vice Captain? If this is another rift. Probably. The gruff soldier, who was actually the Vice Captain, spat on the ground and shook his head. But with the whole burned village thing, the red zone would have to have been massive, so I don't think it's a rift. Probably something else entirely. Do you think something managed to cross over the wall? Quote, bah, no way. After hearing that short exchange, Ben quickly filed the terms away in his mind. He had no idea what a red zone was, but it definitely didn't sound like a fun vacation spot. He didn't know what a rift was either, but he knew what it meant because the villagers had warned him many times. A rift was danger. Maybe no one in the village knew more, or maybe it was just not something people talked about, because he couldn't find any details about it in Benjamin's memories. It might just not be common knowledge. Ben tilted his head, trying to catch more of their conversation. He wanted answers, so he'd really love some information, but as soon as the soldiers noticed him listening, they stopped talking. Are they seriously that paranoid? When he realized he wouldn't learn anything else by eavesdropping, he decided to take a chance. He looked up at the gruff soldier with wide, innocent eyes. Do you guys really think I'm a skinwalker? A younger soldier frowned and scoffed right away. No skinwalker would ever actually ask that. Shut up, the vice captain barked, silencing the group instantly. Ben hid a small smirk and looked down at his shoes. So skinwalkers were real in this world. That was frightening, but at least now he knew. Ultimately, the real problem wasn't whether these assholes would willingly talk to him. What mattered was whether he could successfully learn enough about this world before they shoved him in front of whatever this status check was. And judging by the heavy iron cuffs on his wrists, failing that check probably meant that he would lose his head. He didn't manage to get any information from them before they reached the camp. Before he could look around at the place or the soldiers moving about, they led him straight to the biggest tent. The commander will see you now. Uncuffing Ben, the vice captain shoved him roughly toward the entrance of a huge canvas tent and sneered. See to it that you behave. Nodding obediently, Ben ducked through the heavy fabric flaps. Inside, he saw an old man sitting behind a sturdy wooden desk stacked with what looked like hundreds of reports. This must be the commander. The old man stared at him with blank, lifeless eyes and began asking questions. Name, Benjamin. Age, 14. Family, dead. Why was he asking these pointless questions? Was he trying to see how much the fire had affected him? Ben answered honestly, repeating the memories he had in his mind. Lying wouldn't help him here anyway. How long was this interrogation going to last? Before the commander could ask another question, the tent flap flew open. A tall woman in a sharp uniform walked in, went straight to the desk, and slammed a rectangular slab of glass onto it. This is an assessment tablet. Quote. She tapped the smooth surface without even glancing at him. It's an older model, but it'll do the trick. Put your hand on it and accept the prompt. She leaned forward and finally met his eyes. If the readout shows anything suspicious, we will decide what to do with you. Deny it and I take your head myself. Prove your status and I'll be the first to apologize. You will be given a place to stay while we are here, then taken to the nearest city, where the kingdom will give you enough resources to start a new life. Quote. Well, that got out of hand fast. Still, these tablets are a complete mystery to me. Or to Benjamin, anyway. But really, does it matter whose eyes are looking? We're the same now. Before Ben could even process the threat, some kind of heavy and invisible force gripped his wrist. It pulled his arm forward and pushed his palm flat against the cold glass of the tablet. He nervously licked his lips and kept his eyes fixed on the device. What looked like runes carved right into the air right in front of his face. He flinched and jerked his head back in shock. The woman let out a soft chuckle, clearly amused by his reaction. Meanwhile, the commander kept staring at him with that same blank, expressionless face. Trying to stay calm, Ben read the floating symbols as they turned into familiar words. Status readout requested by external device. Grant permission. He stared at the prompt, panic rising in his chest. He'd never seen a status before and had no idea what it might reveal. What if it showed a lot more personal details than it should? He had literally just hijacked a dead kid's body a few hours ago. Was it going to show that? Was it going to show him as some kind of otherworldly demon? Chapter 2, Goals. A note from Mishri. Hey, people, any comments, follows, or reviews are welcome. The story starts off a bit slowly as I introduce the world and the system, and give our main character some time to explore, but after the first 10 chapters, things take off. I hope you stick with me for that long. This will be a long one, very long. It's in the title, really. A real grind to the top. 12 Steps to Transcendence is my love letter to Light RPG and the few stories that inspired me, namely Hell Difficulty Tutorial, Path to Transcendence, Path of Ascension, and Lights. Thus, you might find some similarities in the first arc, and that is pretty much intentional. I really like those stories, you see. I realized there weren't many stories that hit exactly what I wanted to read, so I decided to make one myself. This story is everything I love put together. Now that might not be for everyone, and I get that, but if you are in for the journey, welcome aboard. I'm not sure how good it will be, but I hope you enjoy it. If it were revealed that his soul wasn't from this world, that would definitely look suspicious. What if they decided he was a demon in disguise, hijacking this body? Was he really going to die here? Hurry up, the woman snapped, her amusement gone in an instant. With no other choice, Ben selected, yes, in his mind, his throat tightening as he braced himself for the worst. The assessment tablet's coldness bit into his palm as it came to life. A faint blue light shot upward, projecting a clear hologram into the air. It only showed a few lines of text. Name, Benjamin. Tier, 0. Skills, Focus, LVL1. Ben blinked at the floating words, staring in disbelief. That's it. The woman let out a sigh of relief and dropped her threatening posture right away. Well, you don't have a skinwalker skill, that's for sure. We apologize. She bowed her head a little and stepped back. The invisible pressure around Ben's wrist disappeared at once. Ben rubbed his wrist and kept quiet. Are skinwalkers really that dangerous? Still, he could not help but marvel at the status before him. Holy shit, so this world really was like a video game after all. He had never seen his status before, and seeing it now made the weight of his current situation settle with all the more intensity. Still, I can't help but wonder, why were there no stats? Maybe they simply didn't exist in this world. When he checked the skills section, he felt a real spark of excitement for the first time. This pretty much confirmed one of his biggest suspicions since he got Benjamin's memories. If the woman forcing him to move with some strange force hadn't already convinced him, this did. Magic was real, and magic was cool. Honestly, mana and magic systems were the entire reason he played most games back on Earth. But now, he wasn't on Earth anymore. That thought made him feel a bit melancholic. Benjamin's life was nothing like his own. He came from a small, remote village where nobody was particularly strong. His life was pretty ordinary, but Ben would have preferred that to the fire. He knew of basic concepts like tiers, skills, levels, and what a status screen was. But beyond that, he didn't know much else. He had no idea how someone actually moved up a tier. At least he knew that skills improved just by using them over and over, or practicing. Looking at his only skill, it seemed simple enough. Focus. It obviously just helped him focus, or at least that's what the borrowed memories suggested. Suddenly, the woman let out a low whistle, breaking his train of thought. Focus. Leaning back, she smirked in amusement. No wonder the boys told me your eyes are creepy as fuck. Ben frowned, feeling completely lost. Isn't focus just a skill that helps me concentrate better? Quote. She let out a chuckle and shook her head. You really are a village kid. Crossing her arms, she explained further. Well, yes and no. It helps your focus, but it also has a passive effect that a lot of people in my field don't like. This effect gets stronger when you use the skill, unless you turn off the passive effect, that is. What does it do? It regulates your emotions. Suddenly, it all made sense to him. Is that why I've been handling this whole nightmare situation so well? Not once had he panicked, broken down, or lost control since waking up in that burned village full of dead bodies. Instead, he stayed strangely calm. He still felt things, but his reactions were much weaker than they should have been. Since he was already a bit detached like that, he hadn't really thought about it before, but now he understood. She waved her hand to brush it all aside and changed the subject. You'll be given a place to stay here at the camp. Quote. She sighed and rubbed her temples, looking tired. There will be a shipment coming to the camp. You can go back with them, but that will take a while, so you'll have to stay with us for the time being. Quote. Glancing back at the tablet, she shrugged. Still, it looks like I don't have to worry about you. Only a certain kind of person has that skill, so you'll be perfectly fine on your own. She turned to the exit and glanced over her shoulder. Actually, here's a tip, kid. Don't use that skill in the presence of strong people. Smirking dryly, she added a warning. It is really annoying being stared at like that. Ben just stared with a blank expression. She stared at him, her smirk fading. Don't tell me you don't even know how to stop using a skill. When he didn't respond, she rolled her eyes in exasperation. Muttering something about clueless village bumpkins under her breath, she walked toward the tent flap. Well, she's certainly a piece of work. I'll see if I have some time to teach you a few things later. It's the least we owe you for treating you like shit, assuming the boys told me the truth. She pushed the heavy fabric aside, glanced at the old man who still hadn't moved at all, and gave Ben on a last look. Anyway, I'll be leaving, old man. Do with him what you will. She stepped out into the camp, leaving Ben alone with the commander. The old man kept his face blank and stared at him. Ben hadn't heard a word from him since the ordeal began, and the silence made him uneasy. Sit. Ben walked over and sat on the wooden chair across from the old man. The old man stood up slowly. Suddenly, he was holding a glass and a metal jug, as if they had just appeared in his hands out of nowhere. What? How did he do that? Was it some kind of magic? Ben's eyes tracked the commander's every move with intense focus as the man poured a shimmering amber liquid into the glass and slid it across the wooden table. Looking down at the mysterious drink, Ben hesitated. But when he looked up at the old man's serious, scarred face, he decided it was wiser to accept. He quietly picked up the glass and took a hesitant sip. Right away, a warm, calming feeling spread through his whole body. It tasted very sweet, like honey mixed with something refreshing, and it made all his fatigue disappear. Ben enjoyed the strong flavor and took a deeper sip. The old man waited quietly until he finished. When Ben was done, the old man finally spoke. How are you feeling, kid? Ben blinked, caught off guard by the sudden question. Honestly, this was probably just a tactic to get a traumatized teenager to open up. Most teens would be devastated and deeply depressed in this situation. But the question actually made him stop and think. Just how am I really feeling? Lowering the glass, he decided to answer truthfully, only leaving out the parts that would sound completely insane. After Allah, he hadn't had much time to think about everything. I'm overwhelmed. I'd say I'm scared. I'm not really sure what to do anymore. He stared at his reflection in the amber drink. I've lost everything. Quote. In this life, he truly had nothing left. The village was gone, his home erased, and the faces he barely remembered felt like they belonged to another life. The life of Benjamin, who was undeniably a part of him now, even if his earth side outweighed the scale. But he had also lost something more, his life. His home, earth, his people, family. Since waking up in the ash, this was the first calm moment he'd had to face that frightening truth. A tight knot formed in his chest, making it hard to breathe. I wonder how my parents and little sister are doing back home. I never got to give her that necklace she wanted. Would she resent him for that? Did he die in his sleep at his desk? Did they find his cold body the next morning, or did he just disappear without a trace? Were they heartbroken about his death? Or something else entirely, thinking he just ran away and left them? And what about his friends? All these questions spun through his mind, and he had no answers for any of them. He held the glass tighter as the strong drink broke down his mental defenses. He could feel his walls crumbling. When he looked up, he met the eyes of the scarred man in front of him. The soldier's stare cut through the fog and seemed to look right into his soul. I mean, this entire situation is supposed to be some kind of sick cosmic joke, right? Gesturing vaguely in the general direction of the burned village, Ben let out a hollow chuckle. A village burns to the ground, and one kid miraculously survives the ashes. It's the perfect tragic story that makes for a legend. The grand push to force me out into the wider world. He swirled the amber liquid in his glass and watched the small ripples bounce against the edges. And sure, it's working. Right now, I'm absolutely burning with it. He leaned back in his chair and stared up at the tent ceiling. I'm feeling the anger, the sadness, the grief. I have this crazy strong longing for a home that was just burned to ashes, and a home I can never, ever go back to. Even if I could, I am too weak. He dropped his gaze, then met the old man's deadpan stare with a piercing look of his own. I feel incredibly driven. I feel like I could do absolutely anything. He took a deep breath and let it out in a tired sigh. But I'm a realist, old man. I know exactly how this works. He tapped his finger on the table and let the silence linger. I know very well that this strong motivation will eventually fade into something much weaker. I know I'll eventually just push the trauma aside and get used to the strange new reality without anything I've ever known. He knew he would adapt. He knew he would make it through. I'll get used to the magic, the monsters, the death, or whatever else the world throws at me, because that's just what people do. I'll make new friends, new family, everything. But knowing I'll eventually get over it doesn't make it hurt any less right now. Right now, it just really sucks. The commander sat quietly and let him talk. I don't know much about the world, Ben admitted quietly, finally steering the conversation away from his own existential dread. I mean, I'm a village kid. Heck, I've never even left the village. My parents wouldn't let me. But I know academies exist. Places to learn about the system. Skills. About mana. The old man leaned forward and fixed his sharp gaze on Ben. So what is your goal now? What do you want to do? Do you want to explore the world? Do you want to be an adventurer? Join one of those academies you mentioned. Do you want to explore skills and magic? Do you want to be strong? Ben heard the questions but didn't have an answer right away. He hadn't really thought much about any of it yet, but after a long breath, he gave the most honest answer he could. Maybe I'll do it all. I have nothing left to strive for, so why not? He shrugged and looked back at the old man's intense gaze. I just want to see how far I can go. And make sure something like this never happens again. He meant every word of it. The conviction felt real in his chest, but then a flicker of doubt washed over him. Was it even his? Or was this all focus? Silence settled over the tent once again. Suddenly realizing how much he had talked without stopping, Ben looked down at the empty glass in his edge. And the drink had made him very relaxed and far too loose with his words. He squinted at the old man, feeling suspicious. Just how much does a bottle of this stuff cost? For a moment, Ben thought he saw the faintest smile at the corner of the commander's lips. It costs more than your entire village, probably. Ben just sat there in complete silence. Holy shit, he looked at the jug on the table. Then, without hesitating, he reached out, grabbed the jug, and filled his glass